TV's education coverage is brought to you by Lilly, a medicine company.
Wish TV is your education station. The Trump administration can now carry out mass layoffs at the Department of Education because of a Supreme Court ruling yesterday. So what will the impact be? Erica Meltzer is the national editor for our news gathering partners at Chalkbeat and is here to help us understand this morning. Erica, thank you for being here. Lawyers for the Trump administration say they are not closing the department down. They're just downsizing it. So what exactly will this look like? I know there's a lot of questions out there still.
Absolutely. So the Education Department was created by Congress. Only Congress can get rid of it. And that's the needle that these attorneys for the administration are trying to thread. But when these layoffs were first announced back in March, Linda McMahon, the education secretary, said they were the first step towards closing down the department. And so by saying that these layoffs can proceed, it does pretty significantly change the level of service that the department's able to offer, the size of the department. And I think there is widespread fear that this will, while it is just one step, it is not closing the department. There is a lot of fear, and I think somewhat understandably so, that this is setting us down a path of no return.
So if we see some of these layoffs start, what do you think it'll mean for the Department of Education and in turn for students and teachers?
So the most heavily hit departments were the Office for Civil Rights, with the closure of half of the regional offices, federal student aid, which oversees student loans and Pell Grants and things like that, and the Institute for Education Sciences. And by all accounts, we are already seeing impacts like more civil rights cases being dismissed without an investigation, cases that were in the pipeline. People are just having a very hard time getting answers about their complaints. And we're hearing from colleges that they're having a very hard time reaching people in the federal student aid office. We also know that the Trump administration is pushing borrowers out of some of the repayment plans that the Biden administration had rolled out into, they want people to switch into less generous repayment plans, but the processing times on those have gotten very long. And so I think some of those impacts are things that regular people will feel. In another sense, sort of your day-to-day classroom teacher probably won't actually feel a lot of effect from this, because a lot of education decisions are made at the state level, at the school district level. That's always been the case, and that's going to continue to be the case.
Well, those decisions are at the state level, and we've had in this, while they were waiting on decisions here, a lot of these workers were kind of on hold, being paid, but on leave. So that's where they've been out of the system already and feeling those effects. But states get a lot of federal funding from the Department of Education for programs. And how can they adjust if they don't have these people from the federal government to turn to?
This is a really important question. So this is not happening in a vacuum. The Trump administration has been withholding different funding streams. For example, money that helps school districts support English learners is being held up. Grants have disappeared. And something we're hearing really consistently is that people can't get answers about what they're supposed to do, or sometimes someone has a grant to do some kind of education research. It gets canceled and they can't even reach someone to figure out what their obligations are to kind of close out that project. There's also been a lot of attorneys laid off in the education department, and that concerns a lot of observers that you don't have that sort of internal check and balance that a federal department typically would have. And, I think when we think of all of these spillover effects, I think this is a reason this was a 6-3 decision, and Justice Sonia Sotomayor, in her dissent, said that the other justices were either willfully blind or naive if they did not see what the consequences of their decision would be.
And we'll be watching to see what the consequences will be. Erica, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us this morning on this very important topic.
My pleasure.